Thank you, and look, thank you to everyone this morning for being with me this morning. My name is Daffas. Just some background. I've got a long history in medical device and diagnostics. I've had leadership positions based in Europe, US, and Australia. I could work with Pfizer in their cardiovascular business back in Europe, with Roche Diagnostics based in Mannheim, Germany, in their diabetes monitoring business. And I joined Cochlear in the late 1990s, heading up their European business for about 4 years, based out of London, before coming over to Sydney to head up their global marketing. PainChek was listed in 2016, and I've been CEO and Managing Director since then. Next slide, please. So our mission is to give a voice to those people who can't reliably verbalize their pain. Now, for most people, the majority of the population who can self-report their pain, typically with a communicated pain level of 1 to 10, and communicate that and have that treated by their GP and doctor. So while most of the population can communicate and verbalize their pain, unfortunately, there are a large group of vulnerable people who can't do that. This includes, on one extreme, those living with dementia and with cognitive impairments who may have lost their ability to communicate effectively and therefore are unable to reliably verbalize their pain. Another extreme, there's very young children, pre-verbal children, who've not yet built those communication skills. So our mission is to give a voice to those people who can't reliably verbalize their pain. Now, paper-based tools have been around for many years, and they have been out there in the marketplace. Unfortunately, they're rarely used, they're difficult to use, and they're highly subjective. What we have done is develop a digital version or a digital app that basically uses smart devices, artificial intelligence, and camera-based technology to automatically assess the most complex part of the facial pain assessment process. It just takes 3 seconds, and then includes other observational elements to complete the full pain assessment process within a matter of minutes. It's for use by nurses and carers and provides critical information for better pain management. Next slide, please. These groups of people are pretty significant. It's projected to be 150 million people living with dementia globally by 2050. And this is a similar number of people to those living with diabetes. So it's a very significant number. People with dementia really triangulate their time between living at home, moving to an aged care facility, or being admitted into a hospital. In fact, more than a third of hospital beds are occupied by people with dementia at any one time. So these are 3 important markets, and as you will see, we've penetrated all 3 of those markets to date with our adult product. The infant opportunity towards the adults is 400 million infants at any one time, pre-verbal infants pre-verbal children living at home with their mums and dads who obviously have not built up those communication skills. And so we see a big opportunity, not just in the healthcare environment, this technology, but also the consumer product in the home. Next slide, please. So in summary, we have 2 products, an adult product and an infant product, and 2 market segments. We're selling both into the healthcare professional segments, which is obviously hospitals, care homes, GP sectors, and that's through an annual enterprise business-to-business license. On the other side, we're going to the home market as well. That's either professional home carers, such as those with home care packages, or direct-to-home consumers for use in their home environments as a normal app, a B2C subscription license on a monthly basis. So both models are working, and that's as a digital technology. Next slide, please. So some key achievements. These are really this is what's summarized at the end of March this year. So we have more than 120,000 global licenses contracted across more than 1,500 aged care facilities. We've got an ARR of about 1.5 million to date, and that's going to transition to over $4 million in the next 12 months when we've fully implemented and transitioned all these beds onto standard PainChek contracts. Both our products are regulatory cleared for use in Australia, Europe, UK, New Zealand, Singapore, and Canada. And we're in process for both in the United States. In fact, I was on a call with the FDA at midnight last night as we're going through our final clinical trial protocol with the FDA for the US market. And we've already made a decision that we can bring in the infant product into the US market this year as a clinical decision support tool. So that's happening already. Overseas, the UK market, in fact, doubled their beds in the last quarter, and we've got a strong pipeline of opportunities in the UK, both direct sales and with our integration partners. We've also recently signed our first New Zealand agreement, which was done actually remotely. We've not been there, we couldn't travel there for obvious reasons, but we set up, we trained, we implemented, and we negotiated an agreement with Somerset Holdings for 1,200 beds.
Sorry.
They're the third largest aged care provider, covering 1,200 beds in New Zealand. We also now have first sales in hospital, in home care, and we've got patents granted in multiple markets. So very strong performance for the company overall. Next slide, please. So if you look at the PainChek Universal app, the adult app is now been on the market for a few years, and it's really evolved significantly since we first launched. What it does, it really brings pain assessment back to the point of care. It's a multi-dimensional pain assessment tool that gives information to the carers as to the pain severity levels, either no pain, mild, moderate, or severe. And the technology is fully embedded into the app. In other words, you can use the technology and on a phone or a smart device anywhere at any time. It does not have to be connected to the internet. So it's very, very flexible and very good for use in remote sectors. We've also brought in the NRS, numeric rating scale, which is a technology which allows us to assess and document pain for those who can verbalize, thus making it a universal technology. And we have an analytics tool that really analyzes all the information it provides. Next slide, please. This shows you one example of our analytics and how we see data. Data can be assessed by individuals. We can compare scores across multiple people. Next slide, please. And we can also look at the assessments from a historical perspective, and look at pain behaviours. Now, this type of data we provide to our aged care facilities have never been available before. It helps their accreditation purposes, and it also makes sure that anything they do can be used for better pain medication. Next slide, please. So, as being a digital technology, we've adapted all our training to be fully digital. So we've got both e-learning modules and classroom learning modules. And in the past couple of years, since COVID hit, we've done more than 8,000 trainings for people online. And in that same period, we've actually grown our pain assessments, and we document every single pain assessment conducted. As end of March, we hit more than 1 million cumulative pain assessments, which shows that the product's being used extensively in aged care. And I can tell you right now, we're over the 1.3 million assessment mark. So there's a rapid utility in use of the product as people find it really helpful to help better manage pain. Next slide, please. So we started in aged care because in aged care, that's where the problem for pain assessment is at its greatest. And as you've heard so far, we've penetrated the UK, Australia, New Zealand, and entered into Canada this year. The aged care market is around a $350 million market globally, so that's a significant market. But we do see the future really being in the home care consumer sector. As the number of people with dementia increases, the preferred model is to be at home, and also governments are funding that and the technologies are moving it that way. So the home care market will significantly dwarf our current work in aged care, and that's where our focus is for the future. How are we achieving that? We're achieving that with partly for our integration partners. Our integration partners, we've got more than 20 of them now, and these are companies that provide care management systems. They provide medication management systems in these markets. Our current partners cover more than close to 500,000 aged care beds, which provides us a great platform to access these markets. So what does integration do? First of all, it means that every single pain assessment conducted on PainChek is automatically integrated into their care management systems, eliminating duplication of efforts and taking out all the manual paperwork. What it also now is starting to do is that these partners of ours are co-promoting, co-marketing, and providing reseller agreements to actually sell our products into their markets and maximize the opportunity for both of us. So it's a real win-win situation, and our partnerships here continue to grow. Next slide, please. So now I'm going to move on to the infant app, because the infant app is really new. It's the world's first automated AI-based pain assessment tool for infants. Our first version is for infants below the age of 1, from 1 month to 1 year. And it's for assessing post-procedural pain. So key areas to focus on here is post-vaccination pain. There's more than, all kids get about 5 vaccinations the first year of their life, and COVID-19 will be the 6th. It's just been regulatory cleared in the US for infants at 6 months of age to have COVID-19 vaccination. And that will come to Australia in the next 6 months and Europe very rapidly soon. So this is one big area we see as an opportunity. The second area is post-operative. That's post in the emergency room, where we're doing a study with Melbourne Children's Hospital right now, and also Wesley Children's Hospital in the ENT department for things like post-tonsillectomy. So that's the professional area. But the big area, as I said before, is collaboration we see with global therapeutic companies. We have a number of good companies we're talking to right now, including obviously Sigma in Australia, to actually incorporate our pain assessment with their pain medication management for home use. So this is a really exciting high growth market opportunity. Next slide, please. If you look at the value, well, I said before, 400 million between the age of 0 to 3. There's 140 million infants between 0 to 1. And if we could just get 1%, just 1% of that global market, that's over $300 million annualized. And that's a very significant marketplace. So that's our key focus for the next 6 to 12 months, is to really build that market opportunity. This is how we see it working broadly. Infant, has a procedure, either a post-vaccination or post-surgical procedure. The GP or the doctor conducts an assessment, a pain assessment with the parents in place. The parents are educated in terms of pain management and education. The parent can then access PainChek via our retail store or directly through the App Store and continue to assess pain in the home environment. Very much like you do with taking a temperature or a person with diabetes would manage their blood glucose monitoring. So, I work for Roche in the diabetes sector. That is now a $10 billion per annum business for the players in that market. And we're talking about similar numbers here within the children's sector. Finally, I'm just going to finish off on a couple of things. We recently, just this week, were given a grant from the WA government to develop a product, PainChek, for children with disabilities. That's been it's a collaboration with the University of WA and the Telethon Kids Institute. And so it just really gives further evidence that why there's a need for these technologies to assess not just pre-verbal children for their pain, but also non-verbal children and children with disabilities. So that's a very exciting project, and we will own the commercialization rights and the technology and the IP from this project. Finally, corporate summary. That's our market cap as of June the 30th. And our cash in the bank was 4.7 million. We've since done a successful, fully underwritten capital raise which will bring us another $4 million in capital, and plus we've just received $1 million R&D rebate. So that really takes us really strongly through now for the next 18, 24 months to allow us to complete all our core business goals. Next slide, please. So I'm going to finish on here. This is our investment highlights. So what I would say, in summary, PainChek is a large global market opportunity. We've validated our technology in Australia and now the UK. And we should show that we've proven we can internationalize the business. It's now all about expanding and entering into new larger markets, including North America and Europe. The technology is novel, and we have a very strong team who can execute with great global experience. So let me hold it there for questions.
Thanks, Philip. We've got time for a couple of questions. What we saw recently in Australia was we saw Pfizer launch a bid for ResApp, which really kind of validates this mobile app as a kind of a medical tool, for want of a better word. How important is it for PainChek to have these kind of integration partners and to potentially work with big biotech, for example?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think that was a very interesting move by Pfizer. And I worked for Pfizer many years ago, and I can see how they would like to use that technology for research, for example. That's good. These partnerships are critical. We have, say, more than 20 partnerships already with these care management systems, and it means our brand gets out there. They've recognised it. They're supporting the use. They're actually buying from us now. Some are buying license from us and reselling onto their clients. And you know, we have had a number of contacts with big pharma. And you know, we're not looking to sell the company at this stage. But you know, I think in comparison, we are on the market. We've got proven product, we've got proven usage, and I think actually we've got a much bigger market opportunity. So no, I mean, I could see us linking very nicely with big pharmaceuticals, especially for the infant app, and being a sort of a business model for the future.
And of course, the aged care industry was hit pretty hard by COVID. Are there any kind of long-term structural changes within that industry that may play into PainChek's business model? Oh,
absolutely. That's a really good question. In fact, the new requirements, new regulations, that being and funding from the government that's happening actually in October this year, it makes pain assessment absolutely critical. And obviously what we're providing our clients is not just the ability to assess pain, but to show through our analytics that they're doing it effectively, they're documenting it, and they're managing medication better. So we see ourselves as their partner, not just in pain assessment, but also in ensuring they can achieve their accreditation requirements and their government reporting requirements.
Yeah, it certainly makes sense. And just one last question, Philip, who are your competitors in this space?
Well, that's an interesting factor. The competitors are really the old paper-based systems. The paper-based systems, which is things like the Abbey Pain Scale, that have been used for many, many years, but are quite complex to use. Now, the Abbey Pain Scale was developed by a lady in South Australia, Dr. Jennifer Abbey, who's actually a very good contact of ours. She's on our advisory board, and she's the first person to say, look, in her words, PainChek is the evolution of the original work using modern technology, bringing pain assessment back to the points of care and allowing all carers, not just specialist carers in pain, but allowing all carers to do pain assessments and to treat their residents and their patients better. So we've also got patents. Don't forget, we've got patents granted in the US, China, and Japan, and we're in process in Australia and Europe. So those patents will give us protection through to 2035 as well.
Great, Philip. That's all we have time for, unfortunately. Enjoy your weekend, and we'll catch up with you again.
Thanks very much. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Cheers.